guys, it's Mark, aka the Arachnoholic. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing another rehouse, this time on my Juvenile P. murinus. This is, of course, the infamous OBT, or the orange bitey thing, as it is known in the arachnid hobby. This is actually the Usambara baboon, the orange baboon, as there are quite a few variations of this particular species. There is the true color phase, which looks kind of similar to this one, but is more of a light tannish bronze color. There's the dark color phase, which is almost completely black, which is actually the rarest. And then there is the orange or the red color phase, which is this guy here. That is oftentimes referred to as the hobby form. 9 times out of 10 in the exotic pet trade, at least here in the United States, I can't speak for the rest of the world, this is most often the color form that you will come across, which, being fairly common, doesn't make them any less amazing, because as you can see, they are absolutely stunning and beautiful tarantulas. This is, of course, an old world species, being that it comes from Africa. These are native to Kenya, as well as a few other countries. They are found in desert and scrubland environments. They are considered semi-terrestrial. They will climb and are actually quite adept at it, very similar to the green bottle blue. However, as you can see, they have much more of the typical terrestrial build, being relatively bulky in build with shorter, thicker legs, as opposed to the lankier, lighter build that most arboreal species have. Now, sometimes these guys will do a combination of burrowing and webbing. Sometimes they will just simply web up the entire enclosure. Now, sometimes people do like to house these in arboreal setups, as, like I said, they are quite adept climbers, and compared to most terrestrials, they will climb a bit more and will even construct their webs from the ground up. And these can sometimes extend several inches or even feet above the ground. There you go, very beautiful spider. Now, I still like to house my orange baboons as I would a typical terrestrial. This is just me personally, for anybody in the comments, freaks out about this. So, I know some people like to use more substrate, especially when it comes to terrestrials, and for the most part, I do the same myself. However, when it comes to a species such as this, that is a little bit more adept at climbing, and has even been labeled, in some cases, as semi-arboreal, I'm not too worried about her falling and, bumping her abdomen on her cork bark here, or having an accident or injury of any sort that would basically result in the spider bleeding out. I'm not really too concerned about that with this species, so I do tend to give them a little less substrate than I would your standard terrestrial, just in case she does want to climb and make some webbing off the ground. That will give her the opportunity to do so. Although, as you can see, I still am going to house mine in a typical terrestrial setup. So this is a critter keeper. I know some people are not crazy about these, but I do find that they work well for juvenile and even some smaller adult tarantulas. I don't really use them for my arboreals, as they're not really designed for those types of animals, but for terrestrials and semi-arboreals, they're not bad. So I put about maybe 2-ish, almost 3 inches. I might add another inch or so just to be safe of substrate. The stuff that I'm using today is actually something different. That is jungle mix. So this is a combination of fir, sphagnum, and peat moss. Although I usually prefer just to use my cocoa fiber, and then I'll mix it with some peat moss as well. But today I just went ahead and went with this stuff, since that was all I had on hand. And I also have, of course, the water dish. This is just a bottle cap from a Gatorade bottle, but you can always go fancier if you'd like, if you want something that's a little more visually appealing. Of course, we've got the cork bark and a bunch of plastic leaves and plants. Some people prefer to use live plants in their enclosures, which is obviously better if you're looking for a more visually appealing setup if you want to try a bioactive enclosure. I've had mixed results with these myself, as a lot of plants do require a good amount of light and regular watering. And, you know, of course, being a heavy Weber, I mean, this is literally all going to be covered in silk and webbing within a few days, I would imagine. So, you know, obviously that can cause an issue when it comes to the plants receiving proper light as well. So I just go with plastic ones, but that's just me. But anyway, that will serve as some additional anchor points for the tarantula's webbing to go. Now, a little bit more about this tarantula. These are, like I said, old worlds. They are super duper fast, practically teleporters. They're also very good climbers, despite being mostly ground-dwelling tarantulas. And when I say teleporters, I mean, like, she could be from one end of this room to the next before I even have time to react, which is why I have my handy-dandy catch cup here, as well as my paintbrush that I can use to hopefully coax her out without too much trouble. I say her, but this one is still unsexed at this point. Another thing is this tarantula, as you could probably have guessed, going by the acronym Orange Bitey Thing, or OBT, they have a little bit of an attitude problem. They're pretty short-fused. I mean, mine will threat pose me and slap the ground and bare her fangs, even when I just accidentally bump the enclosure, or, you know, if I shine a light too close to her, being that these are old worlds, they do tend to be more photosensitive, more sensitive to light than most of your New World tarantulas would be. So definitely a very temperamental species. She would not hesitate to bite me if I annoyed her too much or tried to pick her up. So definitely not a species for handling. This is 100% a look but don't touch animal. Plus, their venom is amongst the more potent of tarantulas. I wouldn't say it's as bad as like a Poecilotheria or your Stromatopelma calceatum, the feather-legged baboon. It's not as bad as any of those, but it's up there for sure. These do have what is considered to be medically significant venom, and while it would not kill you, a bite would definitely cause you a lot of excruciating pain and could potentially lead to a visit to the emergency room. So definitely better to avoid getting tagged by one of these. And being old worlds, these lack the irritating bristles that many New World species have, so their only options for defense are really to either run or bite. And there she goes. Threat posing me already. Yeah, somebody's not in a good mood. Though I can't say I blame her. Look at those colors, though. I love the blue highlights on the bottoms of the feet. They're extremely pronounced on this species, and they give a really beautiful contrast with the orange. Alright, so what I'm going to try to do here is... I do apologize for some of the shaky cam. I'm recording this all by myself, guys, so just bear with me. Alright. So I found a spiderling enclosure that was currently unoccupied, and I was able to fit it perfectly over the enclosure that she's currently in. And I'm going to try to coax her using this paintbrush into the box, or into the enclosure here. And hopefully it'll be a smooth sailing as far as getting her to go into her new home is. Alright, well, I was able to get her out of the current enclosure she's in. I felt kind of bad because I had to pull all of her webbing out, which is basically all in one big mass right there. But thankfully it was a fairly easy process, and there she is in the catch cup. Alright, I'm going to set the camera down here. I do apologize, guys, for some of the cuts and the shaky cam. Unfortunately, I'm doing this 100% by myself. Rolling solo today, so this is what I gotta do. Alright. This should go fairly easy, I'm hoping. There you go. See what I mean about these guys being really skilled climbers? Yeah, she is not happy. It's okay, girl. You'll be nice and comfy in your new home in just a minute here. Alright, here we go. So, fortunately, as you can see, the dimensions of the deli cup she's currently in don't quite match up with the top of the enclosure here. So what I've done to cover up the gaps in the corners, just to keep her, from trying to squeeze her way through those, was just cover them up with a few pieces of paper, and hopefully that will prevent any would-be escapes. Well, she pretty much climbed out on her own this time, so definitely good news there. I would say things went relatively smooth. I actually took some of her old webbing from her previous enclosure, and put it into her current one here. And hopefully that will help her to settle into her new home a little bit quicker. But yeah, there you guys go. That's my rehouse of the P. murinus, the OBT, or the orange baboon tarantula. Beautiful, beautiful species. Definitely more for the advanced or experienced hobbyist, but still a gorgeous tarantula nonetheless. They do spend a lot of time out in the open, especially compared to most arboreal tarantulas. They're not quite as reclusive, although sometimes they can be. It just varies from individual to individual. She'll probably have this all webbed up in a couple of days. She might do a little bit of digging as well, but we'll see. But yep, there you go. So please go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment, let me know any other tarantulas or just like arachnid hobbies in general you guys would like me to discuss. I'm always open to suggestions. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss out on more fun. And make sure to check out that Patreon. I'll post a link in the description below. And until then, this has been the Arachnoholic. You guys stay awesome.